What if the most dangerous idea in Star Wars isn't the Death Star or Order 66, but the belief that power is the only true safety? That belief defines the Sith Order. Beneath the theatrics lies a philosophy that embraces a galaxy ruled by force. Where the Jedi teach restraint, the Sith ask, why suppress your strongest emotions? This isn't a tale of cartoon villains, but an ideology that endures because it understands something deeply human and deeply dangerous. The Sith worldview. At the heart of Sith philosophy is a brutally simple assumption. Power already governs the galaxy. Politics, war, survival, hierarchy, everything ultimately bends to strength, leverage, and will. The Sith do not see this as corruption of the natural order. They see it as the natural order itself. To a Sith, denying the importance of power is like denying gravity. You can pretend it doesn't matter, but it will still pull you down when you least expect it. This is why the Sith reject the Jedi emphasis on detachment and balance. From the Sith perspective, restraint is not virtue, it is vulnerability. Power in Sith thinking is not merely a tool you use when necessary. It is the truth beneath every interaction. Those who acknowledge it rise. Those who deny it are ruled by those who don't. This is why the Sith never apologize for ambition. Wanting more is not a flaw, it is proof you are alive. Emotion as fuel, not weakness. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the Sith is their relationship with emotion. The Jedi treat strong emotion as a destabilizing force that clouds judgment and leads to suffering. The Sith see emotion as raw energy waiting to be refined. Anger sharpens focus. Fear heightens awareness. Hatred provides endurance. Desire creates momentum. These emotions are not chaotic by default. They only become dangerous when suppressed or denied. Sith philosophy teaches that embracing these feelings allows you to control them, channel them, and ultimately weaponize them. This is why the dark side often feels faster and more powerful than the light. It taps directly into emotional states people already experience during crisis, trauma, or injustice. The Sith do not ask you to empty yourself. They ask you to use what's already there, and in a galaxy constantly defined by war, loss, and inequality, that offer is extremely hard to refuse. The lie of peace and the promise of freedom. Sith philosophy famously rejects the idea that peace is a permanent or even desirable state. To a Sith, peace is temporary stability enforced by someone else's power. It is calm that exists only until the next conflict erupts, which it always does. From this perspective, peace is not safety. It is a pause. Freedom, however, is different. Sith freedom means freedom from submission, freedom from fear of domination, freedom from systems designed to keep you obedient and small. It is not collective freedom, it is personal sovereignty. This is where Sith ideology becomes especially dangerous. It frames moral restraint as oppression and self-control, as weakness imposed by those already in power. The Sith don't tell you to serve the galaxy. They tell you to stop letting the galaxy decide your fate. If you have ever felt powerless, unheard, or manipulated, that message hits with frightening precision. Why the Sith always turn on each other? The Sith obsession with power creates its own internal contradiction. If strength determines worth, then loyalty is conditional. If domination proves superiority, then betrayal becomes inevitable. This is why Sith history is filled with apprentices overthrowing masters and empires collapsing from within. The Sith do not fail because they misunderstand power. They fail because they understand it too well. Power invites challenge. Authority invites envy. Supremacy invites resistance. In a system where betrayal is not immoral but expected, stability is impossible without strict structure. The Sith learned this the hard way, turning self-destruction into strategy. The rule of two was the Sith Order's most important evolution. Rather than endless armies of Sith tearing each other apart, the Order was reduced to two individuals at a time, one master and one apprentice. The master represents accumulated power and knowledge. The apprentice represents hunger, ambition, and potential. The relationship is intentionally unstable. The apprentice is meant to crave the master's position, and the master is meant to anticipate betrayal. This is not a flaw, it is the design. Through this system, Sith knowledge is refined rather than diluted. Weakness is eliminated through conflict. Survival itself becomes proof of superiority. Over centuries, this approach allowed the Sith to disappear from open war and operate in secrecy, manipulating governments, economies, and institutions from the shadows. While the Jedi believed the Sith extinct, the Sith were simply evolving. Secrecy as the ultimate weapon. Unlike the Jedi who operate publicly and visibly, the Sith thrive in concealment. Mystery amplifies fear. Fear magnifies power. When people don't know where the threat is, they begin policing themselves. This is why Sith often operate behind masks, literal and symbolic. Their identities are hidden. Their intentions are obscured. Their presence is felt long before it is seen. Even in modern Star Wars storytelling, dark side figures often exist in ambiguity. They may not call themselves Sith, but they embody Sith methods: secrecy, manipulation, emotional exploitation, and psychological dominance. A Sith does not need to announce themselves. By the time you realize what they are, the game is already over. How the Sith recruit without recruiting. The Sith rarely recruit through ideology alone. They recruit through experience. They find people who have been failed by institutions. People punished for emotion. People told to wait, endure, or accept injustice quietly. Then they validate those feelings instead of dismissing them. The Sith do not begin with promises of conquest. They begin with understanding. They offer clarity where others offer restraint. They offer action where others offer patience. They offer power where others offer philosophy. By the time the apprentice realizes the cost, the dark side has already rewired their identity. Power has become synonymous with survival. Letting go feels like dying. Compassion as a liability. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Sith philosophy is its view of compassion. Where the Jedi see compassion as moral strength, the Sith see it as a vulnerability that can be exploited. Attachments are not discouraged because they are unhealthy. They are discouraged because they create leverage. Love becomes a chain. Loyalty becomes a weakness. Mercy becomes a tactical error. Sith mentors often engineer emotional dependence, offering approval sparingly and punishment generously. This creates devotion without trust and obedience without affection. It is not love, it is ownership. Why the Sith keep winning, even when they lose. The Sith rarely achieve lasting victory. Empires fall, lords are overthrown, plans unravel, and yet the Sith always return. They return because their philosophy is reactive, not idealistic. It does not depend on peace, stability, or moral consensus. It thrives on chaos, fear, and ambition, the default state of the galaxy. Whenever systems fail, whenever people feel betrayed or powerless, Sith thinking resurfaces. Not always with red lightsabers. Sometimes it appears as ruthless pragmatism. Sometimes as authoritarian control. Sometimes as the belief that kindness is weakness and dominance is realism. The Sith don't need to rule forever. They only need to wait. The ultimate irony of Sith power. For all their talk of freedom, Sith rarely experience peace. Their victories are temporary. Their paranoia is constant. Their relationships are transactional. Their power is never secure. They seek control so desperately that they become enslaved by the fear of losing it. The dark side delivers results quickly, but it sends the bill later with interest. This is the tragedy at the heart of Sith philosophy. It is effective, it is seductive, and it is ultimately self-consuming. What the Sith really represent. The Sith Order is not just a villain faction, it is a mirror. It reflects what happens when fear replaces trust, when power replaces empathy, and when survival becomes more important than meaning. It asks a question Star Wars keeps returning to because it never stops being relevant. What do you become when control matters more than compassion? And perhaps the most unsettling answer is that the Sith are not monsters because they are inhuman. They are monsters because they are too human. Driven by emotions everyone recognizes, taken to their logical extreme. That is why the Sith never truly disappear. They wait. And the moment restraint feels pointless, they start making sense again. If power and fear rule the galaxy, the question isn't whether the Sith return. It's why their ideas never die. When people feel powerless, the dark side always finds a way. So, are the Sith pure evil, or a truth taken too far? If this changed how you see the Sith, like and subscribe. If you want to be smarter every day, like and subscribe.